Hi, this is a response to a comment by wjdeoliveira3809, something like that, on the video by the Unheard channel, video named Ben Shapiro, I voted Trump, here's what I regret. So this is my response to your comment. In which you claim that free speech is about a lack of government censorship. It is not about being forced to allow speech inside a private company. Okay, so my comment about that, by the way, of course, the reason I'm making this video is because of the very thing we're talking about. YouTube won't allow me to post what I wrote to you. I've tried to edit it in several ways. In fact, I'm probably going to help create a class action lawsuit one of these days, because I have over 120 comments that YouTube has deleted. They programmed their AI to delete, and we're not saying anything even close to improper. Okay, so I'm making a video to respond to you. Hopefully they allow me to mention my channel. Sometimes they delete those too. Just referring you to my video, not even posting a link or anything. Just say, check my channel, and they'll delete it. So anyway, here goes. We'll try, hopefully. So here's my response to you. So what you just said is actually utterly false. There is a concept with freedom itself, including speech, called the public square. Major services or platforms which serve the greater public square that relate to human rights, such as speech, or such as being, for example, such as being able to use communication platforms like telephones, or have electricity so you can live, like with power companies, have light, have heat, air conditioning, etc., are in fact part of human and thus constitutional rights. Thus, the internet and its respective communication services like social media companies should have always been put under the same exact laws that both phone and power companies are under. The reason for this is because they serve an essential public service relating to human rights. The internet is just another communication platform. It's the latest modern version of it. It's no different whatsoever with a phone company. So in response to your exact words, number one, social media companies are not simply private companies. They are public square-based services. Major communication services, no different than telephone, like I mentioned. Two, it is not beyond absurd, just like it wasn't that when phone and power companies were banned by the government from discriminating against their customers. Ever heard of a phone company or power company banning anyone? Nope. Except when they don't pay their bill or do something criminal. Well, you'll note many states have actually put into law that life-sustaining power needs can't actually be turned off, at least in certain environmental situations. It's considered a public need, aka human right. So you can't make somebody freeze to death or I don't know, die from heat simply because they didn't pay their power bill. 3, your house is not the public square. So comparing the two as the same is a straw man. Further, private companies still have rights. For example, if they only want leftists to use their service, then they have every right to have such standards. But the difference is that must be spelled out. If you have right-leaning views, you're not allowed to post there or join. And if you do, they can ban you. Sure, that's fine. Private company has every right to do that. However, you can't pretend you're an open platform to everyone, every view, every perspective, every culture, every religion, and then proceed to discriminate against those people or certain groups of those people. Also, private companies can't just do anything they want like you're trying to claim. For example, they can restrict speech, but only as much as that speech might interfere with the operation of their business, such as people causing an issue, disturbance, or protesting on their property. People, private business has rights. They can stop that activity because it interferes with the operation of the business. However, they're not allowed to stop all speaking, right? Because that's a human right. They can't stop all speaking. In fact, one way they are actually breaking the law, or should be breaking the law, if our laws were actually working properly and in place, something that they should have never been allowed to do is them banning guns. Why? Because simply legally having a gun on you has no bearing on the operation of a business. Just people walk places all the time carrying guns, whether open or concealed. And it's never once caused an issue unless there's some leftist that starts complaining and causing an issue. But other than that, it's illegal activity. So simply legally having a gun on you has no bearing on the operation of business. So they never should have been allowed to. It should have been struck down with the courts long ago, but unfortunately it hasn't. They should have never been allowed to ban guns on their businesses if they're open to the public. Because being able to keep and bear arms is the second constitutional right. Let's see. So, if you're open to the public, you're required to respect the constitutional and human rights. Yes, like with speech, those rights in a very limited way can be restricted, but you can't outright ban them when the activity does not in any way harm the business. So this is something that the law that needs to be fixed. Just like with the problem with the internet and social media, we need the laws fixed to stop these leftist companies discriminating against people. So let me give you a scenario. Imagine if your telephone or power company, all private companies, by the way, you know that, right? They're private companies, said to you, "We don't like what you say," or "We don't like your politics, so you're banned from using our services ever again." Do you actually think that would be appropriate and right? Let alone legal? No, it wouldn't. So why do you give the modern communication platforms a pass, saying, "Oh, they're a private company, they can do what they want"? You shouldn't be. So, in conclusion, by the way, but I mentioned this in here. Anyway, have you ever heard of a phone or power company banning anyone other than they did something criminal or didn't pay their bill? No. It's because they're under specific laws that restrict them from discrimination against their customers. Yeah, I think I did mention this earlier, but anyway. So the internet and social media platforms shouldn't be allowed to do it either. In conclusion, the internet and thus its various communication platforms should have always been put under the same non-discriminatory laws phone and power companies were put under years ago. As we have seen with social media, banks, credit cards, etc., why it and all those other services should have been put under these laws and why those laws exist in the first place. Because leftists love to infringe on human rights. They were the leftists who ran those phone and power companies in the past that would discriminate against companies and would ban them. They did it back then. They're doing it again. So they need to be stopped. Yet again, from infringing on the human right to freely communicate. What's also worse about this is some people run a business or make their income from social media. So there are actual laws in place currently that prevent the interference with the operation of a business. So they should be being sued left and right on that. But anyway, it would be no different if a power company didn't allow you to power your business, banning you. Sure, you and they would say, oh, you can still run your business. Nobody's stopping you. You can use a generator for power. So think about that. That's how those like you and YouTube and other leftists judge this. Get banned from YouTube. Go to Rumble, which nobody watches. I mean, even though Crowder is still, Louder with Crowder's not on YouTube anymore officially, I still even watch his stuff on YouTube. I try to use Rumble, but it's still just junk. Needs a better UI, etc., etc. Different things anyway. So, bottom line is you're wrong. Free speech is not just about government censorship. It's about censorship, period, by those in power. Yes, private companies don't have to fully grant full constitutional or human rights, but they also have limits, like I've mentioned with businesses that can restrict speech. Unless there's a specific purpose to restrict speech, like say you're going to a spa and you can only use hand signals, then yeah, that can be a reasonable restriction. But otherwise, a business can't restrict speech. So just some thoughts, things you might not have known, and a different way of looking at things. Anyway, wjdeoliveira3809. Have a good one. And where's my switch?